Welcome back to the Life and Stride podcast. This is episode 211. On this episode, we had Dr. Bill Evans, the PhD in exercise physiology, the professor in exercise science, back on the pod. This is part two. We had him on a couple weeks ago. Had a few more topics we wanted to cover with him. Dr. E is a wealth of knowledge. There's so many good training and fueling nuggets in this episode. I hope you enjoy it. And not only that, Dr. E just ran his first marathon, so we got the full race recap. A lot of fun on this episode. If you haven't yet, please leave a review, drop a comment, share with a friend. We'll catch you on episode 212. When we're running through Norton Commons or the Pewee Valley area in Louisville, Kentucky, it's pretty easy to spot Mason Construction Home. The attention to detail, the quality, the stunning design, you can't miss it. It stands out. We aren't just saying that either. Our own co-host Scotty trusted Mason Construction to build his forever home, and he and his family couldn't be happier. Don't tell Scotty this, but we're at his house a lot because we love the home. He's all right too, though. If you live in the Louisville or Southern Indiana area and are thinking about building your forever home or doing a remodel, there is nobody else to trust with this project than Mason Construction. The link to their website is in our show notes. Click on the request information option and start the conversation about what your forever home could look like.
Are we recording?
We are now.
All right, cool. Yeah, so the marathon was good. It was what I was like a minute, maybe 30 seconds off of what I told you guys. I think I'll run, 2:36:40, which I think is like a feasible time that I can run maybe in my second one. But it was a very unique experience, and I'm sure all of you guys would say something similar of your first marathons. But it's like so hard to describe to someone what that last little bit is like until you're doing it and you're just like, "Oh gosh, like this kind of sucks." Like
Yeah.
I'm like the race is over. Effectively it's over, right? When you're at 22, 23 miles and my pace wasn't falling off. I was really trying to run that negative split for you guys, I was like, they said run a negative split, I have to do it. Um but I got a little too aggressive between 13 and 20. So,
Classic.
yeah, I don't know if that's like a common mistake that people make, but
Yep.
um,
Oh, yeah.
I think like, my goal was to run sub 240, and mainly because Nick Bear ran 240, and I was like, I think I'm a better runner than Nick Bear.
I forgot about this. You mentioned this
Yeah,
last time.
yeah, and so I was like, I think I can beat Nick Bear. And so maybe that was like a silly goal, but I was like, I'm gonna do that. And so I went out at 6:0. I think my first mile was like 6:07, and I'm like chit chatting with guys on the line, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna run, like we're gonna go through the half in like 76." And I was like, "Well, I'm not doing that. Like, you guys go on your merry way. See you later." Um, and I ended up with a pack of like four through the first like I think 11 or 12 miles until mile 10. We were all together. Everything was good. I was actually very surprised at how much littering there is during the marathon. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
dude, there are people just throwing, it's not just like gel packets. Like I saw this one dude throw an entire like water bottle, like a Gatorade water bottle, just threw it. And I was like, dude, that's like no one's gonna pick that up. We're on like a random section of this race.
Yeah.
And
Small
then
races, yeah. I mean, I think they probably struggle to find. I think a lot of people try and find volunteers to walk the course in sections because it's aggressive.
yeah, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I didn't, meanwhile I'm like taking my goose and I'm like, I need to drop this in the trash can. I'm like snaking through people. Um, so that being said, the first 10 miles are like, it's such a weird experience. In no other race have I been able to just be like chit chatting, like having a good time, whatever. And I will say some people were not into that. Like the other two
Yeah.
guys in my pack, absolutely not into that. They were like locked in. They were like, I'm not going to waste an ounce of energy. I'm like, guys, this is basically church league here. Let's just like have a good time. None of us are Olympians. We're trying to run sub 240. Like, let's not sit there and pretend like we're going to set a world standard here. Um, and so I think by mile 10, when I stopped to take a pee and then I caught back up to that pack within a mile, they were unhappy because I caught back up and was kind of like, "Hey guys, like, sorry, I had to go pee." And at that point, they're just like, dude, this guy needs to get the hell out of here. Like, he is just so annoying. And so I think through 13, I felt really good. Like, I definitely felt like, oh, my legs are a little tired, but I was talking to the people around me. We're having a good time. Like, things were fun. Richmond was a great environment. Um, I will say that it was a little hillier than I had thought on the back half. I knew it was gonna be hilly, but it was hillier than I thought. Um, and so at 13, there was another guy there, and I had been taking actually way more carbs than I thought I was initially getting. So I fueled every like 4 miles. And so I think by mile 13, I had taken like, I don't know, something crazy like 160 grams of carbs. And that is a
Nice.
little aggressive. So my stomach didn't feel great, but I was like, it's fine. Like, I know I need to do this. And in Richmond, mile 13 through 15 are very downhill. So I came through the half in like 79:30, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm pretty sure, I know I can hold this pace, or I think I can. I've never been at 22 miles, but at that point, I was like, hey, everybody says, run a negative split. And it was downhill, and I was feeling good. I just seen some of my friends, and I was like, I'm gonna put a surge on. And that was cool for about 2 miles until mile 15. You go up a hill, and you're just running uphill for like 3 miles at that point. And I looked at the top of the map before and was like, okay, after mile 18, I'm good. Like, I can just cruise downhill after that. But that is not how Richmond plays out. Like, you get through 18, and at mile 19, I still had a pack of like three at this point. The other guy or two had come up and fallen off, and uh, you come to this like overpass or something, and I swear to God, it was the largest hill I've ever seen. It was not. It's not. It's definitively not. But mentally speaking, when you're at that point in the race, and
Yeah.
you know that like this is make or break, right? Like, you're about to hit the wall. You've run the hardest section in your brain. You're running a negative split. So I think from 13 to 20, I ended up splitting like 5:53 pace, which is
Nice.
down from 6:07. So that was a little aggressive. Um, and then I came through 20 miles in a little over 2 hours. And after getting up that hill, I was just like, oh, this last 10K is gonna hurt. Like, it starts to set into your brain that like a 10K is not a short distance. Like, a 10K is a half an hour or more. And so I told myself, like, my wife gave birth and was in labor for like 12 hours. I can do this for 30 more minutes or whatever it was. But
Dude,
at
my
the
first marathon, I said the exact same thing to myself. I was
Scotty,
like,
I knew we were kindred spirits.
I said it out loud. I don't know who I was with, but they were laughing. I was like, I just watched my wife go through labor, I can do this and I'm not going to complain. Turns out it didn't help me, but I did say it.
I mean, it definitely was something that I was like, and I told her afterwards, and I feel like she was like, you know what? It was all worth it. The training was all worth it just to hear you say that one thing. Um, but like, I literally had that thought, and at 20, I was like, I'm gonna put a surge on, because this guy came past us. This is the only person that passed me the whole race. He was like, hey, you guys down for a cut down? And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me right now. Like, at mile 20, you're gonna blow by us. He ended up running like 2:33 or something. So he closed his last 10K in like 33 or 32 minutes. I don't know who the guy is, but I was like, you've got to be kidding me, man. Like, but I was delusional, and I was like, I'm gonna go with him. So I put on a surge. Yeah, I don't know. It was 20 miles in, and I take my last Morton calf, and I have never tasted something so awful in my life. Like, Morton does not taste good, but the caffeine ones are particularly bad.
Yeah.
And like, taking that one, I straight up just like dry heaved and was like, oh no, choked it back down, and just kind of, the last 10K, particularly the last 4 miles, was just not fun, because the half and the full come together. And so, as you know, your legs are just like pretty bricked. Like, they just cannot go any faster. And now there's like cups that you're slipping on all over the road. And Richmond, I did not see another person from 20 to 26. I didn't see another. I mean, you see half marathoners, but they're just kind of like trotting along. Like, you're running with like 2:30 half marathoners. And so the spectators are kind of like, at that point, they're like, oh, all right, like we've been here for 2.5 hours clapping for these people. They're not they're not running like particularly fast necessarily. And so like when you go past them, they're kind of, the spectators are fatigued, right? So they're just kind of like, woo, go marathoner. Like it's kind of like this pity clap. And so between not having anyone to run with, a little more hills than I thought, and just kind of the energy feeling a bit down, the last 4 miles were just not fun, to the point where I came down the last hill and just started bawling my eyes out because I was like, it's done. It is over. I did it. I had no idea what I was going to run at that point. Like, I mean, I was just like, I hope I broke 240. Like, I think I ran negative splits, but I was, I had instantaneous pace on, and I just like would look down every once in a while and be like, well, 6:05. I'm not running that negative of a pace, but let's go. And so, yeah, when I finished, I felt like my reflections. I made a post about this, but some of the takeaways that I had is like, run more miles. I would shorten my block. We had talked about this, but I did like a
Yeah.
20 some week block. That is not necessary. And then I would have done a little bit more resistance training if I could have. I could tell that it was more muscular and neurological at the end than I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it was going to be cardiovascular. I don't know what I was
Can you
expecting.
explain resistance training a little bit for those people who
Oh,
might not know what you're talking about?
yeah, so just lifting weights, weightlifting. So there's a few papers that show that when you introduce just any level of weightlifting to your marathoning, I think in one paper it was just once a week. They did a combination of plyometrics and weightlifting, so like back squats, some unilateral movements like split squats, right? So unilateral meaning your legs are not directly
Right.
beside each other, right? So one's in front, one's in back. It's a little bit more specific to running. And then some plyometrics like simple pogos, which is like your feet. If this is your feet, they essentially just slap down, right? And you land very stiff. Um, it can drop your marathon time by, I want to say like 3 to 5%, and especially after the 2 hour mark. So that was really where they saw most of the benefits, was particularly after people have passed about 2 hours in time, because you just develop so much muscular strain.
Mm.
Um, and I think there's a misconception that in distance runners, when you weight lift, you're going to gain weight, right? And so there's a lot of runners that are like, well, I don't want to lift weights. Like, I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to increase my body mass. I don't want to feel sluggish or whatever the case is. But you're in such a caloric deficit when you're running a marathon
Mm.
that is not going to happen. Like, there's something called the interference effect. And it basically just says that you cannot, to some extent, you will have less return on whatever training you're doing when you start to interfere training stimulus, right? So this is why you don't see Usain Bolt running a 4 flat mile, right? It's because at some point you start to give something up to get something. Um, but that doesn't, if you're doing it once a week, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see increases in mass because you're just not eating enough. So you're not going to. And it's really going to be probably more neurological, which at that point in the race, like your entire body is just like really messed up. Um, and so that's why I would definitely do some resistance training. And one thing I pointed out is actually negatives, it's a term that refers to eccentric exercises. So for example, if I'm doing a bench press, I would push up with a lot of weight, and then I would slowly let the weight fall back down, right? I would resist it. That's an example of an eccentric or a negative. And there's research that shows that it can reduce delayed onset muscle soreness acutely, right? So it basically, the days after the marathon you wouldn't be as sore. But what's more is that it can also help maintain force production, because you don't have this inhibition by your nervous system from the pain, because pain receptors cause you to inhibit force. Like they will stop you from producing force. And so because you don't have as much pain, you can produce more force. And that is, I would introduce negatives in there as well, which is those like traditional eccentrics.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the last one was, but
Are you a runner? Do you need running shoes, gear, apparel more? If so, I got the scoop for you. Kencom's Running Store is the best place to buy any running supplies you need. Located in the St. Matthews area of Louisville, Kentucky, the friendly staff will take excellent care of you. If you are a newer runner and need help finding the right shoes, or you're looking to get plugged into the Louisville running community, this is where you need to start. If you don't live in Louisville, check out werunlou.com. We have a discount code and the link to the website in the show notes, and the shipping is free for purchases over $100. I promise you, Matt and team are the friendliest people you can meet. Don't hesitate. Get your running supplies at Kencom's Running Store and support an amazing local business.
I think it was something like I would probably do a bit more intensity. I did a lot of sessions that were just very specific to the marathon, and I think that's great. I think our I can't remember the guy's name. Olympic runner. He does a lot with marathons. He is very high on running marathon pace, and I think there's like that's one way to do it. Just be like hyper specific. But I think that I could have run a bit faster if I'd pushed myself a little bit more to shoot for maybe 5:55, 5:50 for those marathon pace sessions, because I know I could do it during the sessions, but in my head I was like, I can't run that on race day, so what's the point? Um, Having done it now, I think I am capable of it. It's just a matter of like putting those sessions together, doing things like 2x10K, right, at marathon pace. So that's kind of my like overarching summary in terms of like how the race went on race day, things I would change. But overall, pretty seamless. Your guys' advice was spot on.
Heck
So
yeah.
You give us
Dude,
too
maybe
much
we are
credit.
kindred. Maybe we are kindred spirits, bro. 2x10K is my peak long run I give people that I coach.
I've heard that, and I think that was one of the reasons why I probably brought it up, because I was like, that is a really good session. I'm gonna steal that.
I stole that from another person.
Okay. It's going to be stolen.
Yeah.
Question. I have a question for Dr. E.
Go for it.
Dr. E, do you know too much? Like when you're in a marathon, do you just start thinking too much about your caloric deficit, or
Yeah.
the level of fatigue that you have in your legs? And
I mean, 100%, 100%. Like, hit the nail on the head, Danny. I am paralysis by analysis, right? And I've gotten better, but everyone always tells me I overthink everything always. But I think that's the heart of like who I am, and having a PhD is to like be curious and ask these questions. And sometimes it helps me because I'm like in a workout, I'll be thinking to myself, like, all right, like I'm over my lactate threshold. That means I'm going to start producing epinephrine, which is analgesic. I'm going to stop feeling pain. My heart's going to beat harder, which means I have more in the tank than I think I do. And so sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to use this to my advantage. But definitely, yeah, I was thinking way too much about physiology that last like 3 miles. I just kept telling myself, like, you're not out of carbs. It's not that. You fueled enough. You're going to be fine.
yeah,
So I definitely overthink it.
were there some things in practice during the race, like the carbs, for example, that you think sounds good on paper, but isn't necessarily like the most helpful thing if you're just like filling your stomach up full of carbs and you can't handle it?
This is where I struggle with like what I read in the literature versus what my own experience is, right? Because I've read stuff that shows that I think this is a recent one. I may have made a post about this after we talked, but there was a recent paper that showed that you can take upwards of like 120 grams of carbs per hour, and your body will actually be able to tolerate it. And part of this is because gut training is real. And I didn't actually believe that. Truthfully, I was like, that's baloney. People are just like soaking their stomachs in carbs, and they're going to get massive like stomach pain. Well, is that me? Okay, we're good. Looks like Danny's gone, but oh well. And so like I didn't believe that beforehand. Now I've read a paper on it. And so now I'm like, oh, I think I can probably take 120 grams of carbs per hour. And now that paper showed that they had more GI distress, or like stomach issues. But like I don't think everybody should be taking 120 grams, because it didn't necessarily help performance, right? Like, yes, they took more carbohydrates, but the performance in those performance in that paper wasn't better. Like, I actually think their blood lactates were higher, and so were their use of carbohydrates because they had more carbohydrates. And so one thing that we know is when you have more carbs, you can use glycolysis to make eventually lactate. So it's not surprising that they found that, but um, yeah, that's probably one thing that I'm like, I don't think you need 120 grams of carbs per hour, but I think that there's definitely like some people that think that.
Yeah, I found 100 to be like a pretty good like spot for me where I don't have GI distress, but like I also have like no bonk at all. So that's been working really well for me. I liked what you said earlier about like, training specifically at marathon pace and like maybe like obviously you said you did a lot of that and maybe hit some other pace zones. I think it's like really important, especially for someone like running as fast as you are, 6 minute pace in the marathon. I think it's like pretty important to like touch on like some VO2, like critical velocity type stuff as well in a training block. And also if like obviously you're doing threshold training too. I remember we talked about you were doing double thresholds, but yeah, I think it's important to kind of touch on some faster paces too, especially when you're going as fast as you are. So, and I know you did some of that, didn't you?
Yeah, no. Oh, go ahead.
Strig, I can directly relate to that. My last block for Chicago, I did like mostly marathon pace, like mostly, and it didn't bode well for me. In my result for Chicago, there was other things that were going on, but I truly don't think I was fit enough for the task. Where now I feel like way fitter because all my sessions the past month have been well faster, 20 seconds faster per mile maybe for every workout than my Chicago block. The intensity has gone up. So it's a risk reward of trying to stay healthy because I'm injury prone, very much so. But yeah, I feel like my body's finally figuring out 4 years into running that, like, we can do this and not get injured. But yeah.
Yeah. I think too, I had said this, if I wish I would have done more double threshold training closer to the race. Because I felt particularly fit after those sessions because I was getting like 15, 16, 17 kilometers of work in a day, sometimes upwards of 18 kilometers of threshold work, right? So, I mean, that's a lot of work at marathon pace. So to get that at threshold, which is faster than marathon pace, um, was like insane, right? And I wish I would have done that a little bit closer to race day and then stuck, even on those long runs, right? Introducing some stuff that's not necessarily like specific to the marathon, like doing some half marathon pace, doing some 10K pace stuff, like you said, some threshold and VO2 stuff, even just to simulate the fatigue that you're going to experience. Like, even if it's just for the sake of that, because the fatigue in that last 10K is very unique. The best way I would describe it is like, I don't know if you guys ran in high school, but when you're a freshman in high school and you get out way too hard, right? Because you don't know how to pace yourself, and you get to the mile mark, and you start having this existential crisis of like, holy crap, I have 2 miles to go, and I feel like I have to jog and or walk, and that is what the last like 4 miles felt like. Like that's the closest I could come to it because I had the same thoughts in my head. I was like, oh, I remember I had that thought like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I was in high school. Um, and so yeah, I definitely wish I would have done that. But until you do it and you see what you're capable of, you're not even gonna know, right? Like now that I know, hey, you're physically capable of running 238, like let's increase the intensity a bit. Let's shoot a little bit more aggressive. But I didn't want to go out there and just blow up.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you do anything like a bicarb or any sort of like supplement like that or anything like that?
I did not, mainly because I hadn't like tried it during any of my sessions. It's also prohibitively expensive to like do it, but I didn't. I think I will do it in future ones. One thing I want, this one's a little crazy. One thing I want to experiment with is actually capsaicin, which is hot sauce, or like what makes things spicy, because capsaicin actually reduces the duration of a cramp, and it sends signals to your spinal cord from your mouth that cause your body not to cramp as much and can reduce some of the muscular inhibition that you get just from like natural fatigue.
Brother, I'm intrigued. This is extremely intriguing. Where did you hear this?
There's some research on it that the first time I had heard about it, actually, this is nerdy. I was reading my exercise physiology textbook, and I was like, it had like one of those like added Durants, and I was like, oh, what's this? Because now I'm old, and so I don't actually care about the content in the book. I'm looking for like little nuggets of interesting information. And I was like, what on earth? And so I kept reading and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So the receptor in your mouth, it was like these two, I think they were like kayakers or something. I don't remember. They were just like neurologists or biochemists that were experiencing cramps, and they were like, huh, why is this happening? And everybody thinks it's from like dehydration and fluid loss, but there's actually not a ton of research that shows that it's from like necessarily from electrolytes or like losses of volume. Cramps actually seem to have a little bit more of a complex like etiology. That's why we still haven't figured them out, right? That's why that you can't just take like your anti-cramp pill. Uh,
Yeah.
so anyways, the receptors, they're called like TRPV1, I think is what they're called. And it's a specific receptor in your mouth, on your tongue. I think they're also in your esophagus. And when the spice hits them, it activates that receptor and it sends a signal to your spinal cord that then tells your body to kind of relax and not have a cramp. So in the original paper, it reduced cramp time by I think like 30 or 40 seconds.
And
As
would you
opposed to-
take it at like when you get a cramp, or is it like preventative?
So based on the paper, they took it before like creating a cramp in the participants. And that seemed to work. Pickle juice does a similar thing, right? I don't think that's why people think about pickle juice. I think people tend to think electrolytes with pickle juice, but pickle juice has acetic acid in it, and it stimulates the same receptor in your mouth.
Oh.
So, right? I know. This is why I'm here. No.
So this is why you're here.
It is.
I mean, I'm like truly intrigued.
Thank you. I was too. So I would take it like if I was going to do it. Now, here's the caveat, right? If you eat spicy things, it could upset your stomach. So this is why like I want to experiment with it. Like I want to know like can I just like basically chew something spicy in my mouth and just spit it out because
Yeah.
the receptors are in your mouth. Like I don't think you necessarily need to swallow it. I think it just needs to like be in your mouth. But there is mixed research on this. So they did a few in some studies, it shows that it can reduce 1500-meter time by up to like 3 to 5 seconds. In other papers, it can show no effect. So there seems to be like mixed results. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's a little uncomfortable. And if it helps, like, it's not the worst
Dude,
idea.
what if you just like do something mild like a jalapeno and you just like carry a jalapeno in a bag and you just like chew off half of it, chew it for like 20 seconds? Yeah, dude.
Can you imagine just like being in that pack and being like, hey guys, you want a bite of this chili pepper? And they're already annoyed with me because I've been talking at them for like 2 hours. And then you pull out a pepper out of your pocket and a handful of spaghetti, and you're like, hey guys, this is stuff.
Well, you chew it and then spit it out. Dude, I feel like the mental like psyche as well on just like forgetting you're running for probably 3 to 4 minutes because your mouth hurts so freaking bad. Like, you probably would forget about it hurting. Genuinely, I might try it just in the long run.
I mean, just go for it, Scotty. And I will say in the paper, they showed that people's perceived exertion was lower. So none of the physiological parameters had changed. And you're not going to see that with a cramp anyways, but the people reported that they had less like that they weren't trying as hard, probably because of that exact thing, right? Their attentional focus was elsewhere. So I want to see this, guys. Chris, I want to see you, Chris, Danny, all of you guys. I want to see you're the jalapeno poppers, and you're just gonna slug those suckers in the middle of
I'm
the
doing it straight seeds. Going to the grocery store after this.
Dude, I'll do it. Striegel, I'll do it for Saturday. I'm not kidding. 2 jalapenos, me and you, bro. Mid-workout.
Dude, we got a huge workout on Saturday. I don't know.
I mean, like, what do we have to lose? I'd rather do it now than in the like. What if it goes horrible? Then you definitely won't do it during the marathon.
Dude, I eat so much spicy food, so maybe I mean I'd be down.
It has to be in the moment.
Has to
I
be the
mean,
moment though.
yeah.
It's gotta-
I want a handful of like hot tiki masala. Just
Dude, that's got to be like.
that sounds horrible during a marathon.
dude. Just slurp it down.
This is an awesome hook, Striegel, for a reel. I mean, this is something that no one has ever seen.
Dude, Dr. E's already scheming, bro. You should make a reel about this. It'd be awesome.
I did actually. I made it on Friday.
Did you really? No way.
You guys can go watch it. It's
What?
repost it.
Oh yeah.
That's the only reason I'm as familiar with it. But it's only been up for a few days.
So I'm curious, before the marathon, I think you've made a reel about the importance of sleep the 2 or 3 nights before the race. What was your like sleep protocol, or what's the ideal protocol before a race?
Yeah. So in that paper, they used a 30% difference, right? So I can hear you watching it in the back, which is funny.
And we just played it.
Scotty's like, I gotta get hot sauce. But no, so you want to increase your sleep by 30%, which is hard to do, right? Because that means you're going to be sleeping, like, if you're sleeping 8 hours, you have to sleep upwards of like 10. So that's not realistic. But most of the changes in that paper actually came from people who slept less. So while more sleep can enhance performance, it was more of a moderate to a trivial effect. Whereas people who slept, I hope I said that right. People who slept more, it was a moderate to a trivial effect. But people who slept less, that was actually a more consistent response. And the people who slept less, again, it's 30% less. And everybody in that study goes through every condition, right? So they do all the study with less sleep, all the study with normal sleep, all the study with more sleep. And so for me, I didn't take melatonin or anything like that, but I kind of stuck to the basics. I was like, I'm gonna try and turn my phone off early. It's hard to do when you're anxious before a race.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like take a shower earlier than usual. I'm going to like make sure that I'm not drinking caffeine later in the day. So it was kind of doing all the little things to make sure that I was going to get in bed on time. But I don't know how many of you guys have young kids, but I have 2 young kids. So yeah, it doesn't matter how early I got to bed. Like I was going to be up at some point because we have like a 6-month-old. So
Oh wow.
my wife luckily was like a little bit more understanding. She was like, okay, you have your marathon, like whatever. So she let me sleep in a little later because I was like, well, I'll get him in the middle of the night, but I need to sleep in the morning. She was like, okay. She's the real MVP, dude. Like she's the one who actually ran 2:37 or whatever because she had to put up with all my crap. But yeah, metaphorical and literal. But then I mean that was pretty much what I did. The thing that
We're gonna let that one go. Keep going.
yeah, just let it pass by. The thing that I focused on more actually was carbs. So I feel so silly. I'm always like, there's a paper, but there is. There was one that showed that instead of traditional carb loading, where you do an exhaustive exercise, which is unrealistic for a marathon, right? 5 days before the race, you're not going to go out and kill yourself. And then like you take a lot of you take a ton, you like eat a ton of carbohydrates. What I did is I read a different paper that says that you can essentially just eat a ton of carbs without the exhaustive bout. And if you just start like a little earlier than the normal carb loading, it could still increase your glycogen stores. So I think by Tuesday, I was like literally pounding just bagels, pasta, anything I can get my hands on to the point that like my stomach hurt. And I think some people would be like, weren't you worried about weight gain? And I was like, no. But I did gain because you're retaining so much carbohydrate and water because you pull carbs and water into your muscles. I did increase my weight by like 3 to 4 pounds, which in a marathon it is unfortunately meaningful.
Yeah.
And so on one hand, I would do it again because I don't think I bonked. Like I held pace. I felt bad, but I held pace. Um, and so I would do that again. And I would really recommend to anybody, like by Tuesday of the week of the race, like you need to be just go to whatever your local grocery store is and just buy a ton of bagels and be eating 3 or 4 bagels a day on top of whatever else you're normally eating.
I want to click into this a little bit. So you said
Yeah.
Tuesday. Race is Saturday, assuming? So a Saturday race, Tuesday. You're doing this Tuesday, Wednesday, what? And then is it slowing down,
Mm-mm.
staying?
So I pounded carbs through Friday morning. By Friday morning, my anxiety was so bad that I mean, like race anxiety, right? I just like was so nervous. It was like hard to eat. So at that point, I was like, I'm gonna choke down some bagels, but um, like Danny said, like I am my own worst enemy. So I had pizza, and I was like the night before, and I was like, I'm doomed. I had pizza. I'm screwed. Like I'm gonna get sick. Um, but at the same time, like I was hungry, and so I was like, I want pizza. Like I want to eat something that I like. And I had like some pasta, and I was good to go. So, um, I would definitely say to eat carbs all the way up until the night before, as long as it's something that your stomach can handle, because it'll be out of your system. Like by the time you get to mile 20, you're going to be wishing that you had more glycogen. Like you're going to be whatever loss you had from like more water or weight or whatever. I feel like the trade-off is that you're going to feel better on the back half. So
I'm curious what you think, because Danny and I specifically have had this conversation and we agree on it, that the carb load makes you feel like freaking garbage. Like your bowel movements aren't regular. Like you get stopped up. You feel horrible. You feel like it's not even that you feel heavy. You just feel like
Bloated.
it's just
Yeah.
bloated. It's like not
Bloat.
great. You're gassy.
yeah,
And at what point is that worth it? Because like all of my long runs, like I've had some crazy awesome workouts that are 22
Yeah.
miles, and it's off of like 300 carbs. It's not 600, right?
Mhm.
What do you think about that? Because like science aside, like in medical journals aside, like how
Yeah.
much does how you feel play into it?
I would say more than anything else. I mean, like I would say you're the best expert, right? Like you are the best expert on your own body. And if your head's not in it, if you're not in the right headspace, it doesn't matter if they do 100 studies showing that carb loading is good.
Hmm.
Now I'm going to caveat that with like, as long as you're not under fueling, right?
Right.
Like, I want to be clear that you
As long
can't
as you didn't eat
fuel.
salads for like the whole week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like which would do other things to your stomach. So, um, like I would say that it's fine. Like if you feel awful, then don't do it. It's not worth it, right? And I generally tend to lean on the side of, if the science says that I should be doing this, I'm gonna do it. Why? Because that's the only thing that can convince me. Like, unfortunately for my wife, if she wanted to win an argument, if she said, "Well, this paper says right here that if you do dishes, you will live 3% longer," I'd be like, "All right, I'm doing dishes every night the rest of my life." Um, but like I'm just easily convinced, and so for me, that's enough psychologically to actually give me an edge to where, like Danny said, like at mile 20, all I was saying to myself was like, I know I'm not under fueled. Like I did everything I could do. Like, um, so for me, it works. But I think if you're not that kind of person and it makes you feel bad, then don't do it, because it,
I
it
think
does make you, it makes you feel bad.
I think Danny and I's logic is essentially like you're already consuming, say, 1,000 or 100 carbs a day, and you're doing 70 miles a week. Now you keep your same diet, and you're, instead of taper week, instead of 70 miles, you're running 30. You're essentially carb loading already by keeping your regular diet because you're not running the same volume. I think
That
that's where me and
is-
Danny kind of came on the same wavelength, but
There might be something to this. I've never actually thought about that, and I think that there should be a paper on this. I don't know if there is, but I am at a university. Maybe I'll do a paper on this because that's
you
really
should
interesting.
read
I never
it.
thought about that.
It's like, I mean, that's like me and Danny using logic. I think Striegel's somewhere in the middle, but yeah, it's just like, so if you boost your carbs from 350 to like 700 and you're halving your volume, that's essentially like 4x what your body's normally burning.
Heck
But
yeah.
maybe 3x. I don't know. Just food for
Scotty and
thought.
Danny logic.
No pun
That's
intended.
Yeah, you can cite us in the paper.
Maybe we'll be your test subjects.
Yeah, I'm totally down.
Dude, so Dr. E, there's a few more things I wanted to cover, and it's kind of relevant to obviously, I don't know how long of a break you took after the marathon, but I'd love to touch on, let's say you take like 2 weeks, a month, whatever after the marathon. How fast would you expect someone to like lose shape? Is there like certain percentages a week or
Yeah.
just estimations on how fast people lose shape?
Yeah, it happens unfortunately very quick. I got a lot of flack for this post because people, I think, and for good reason probably, right? Like my objective is always to share the research. I actually had a recent post taken down despite it just be like covering the research. Instagram was like, well, that's against our community standards. And I was like, I don't
What was
understand
it?
how. Yeah, I'll detract here for a minute. So it was on BPC 157, which is a peptide. It's a small molecule that you can take to increase muscle recovery. It was initially designed to help the gut. And I think there's a few clinical trials that people took it with like Crohn's disease, but turns out it also helps like tendon repair and muscle recovery. So there's a lot of animal studies that show that it can be helpful. Here's the caveat. It's a banned substance according to WADA. So like that's the problem, right? So I think it's BPC 157 and TD 500 is the other peptide. And so I don't know why Instagram took it down because you can watch literal videos on people like telling you how to take steroids and like on whatever like seemingly
I've seen people die on Instagram. Like I've seen crazy stuff on that Instagram, and they're banning like a science talk. That's insane.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
no.
There's some crazy stuff on Instagram. My cousin's algorithm is brain rot, bro.
You just had an amazing training block and you're walking to the start line of your PR attempt race. What are the key items you need to have on you for race day? For me, I cannot start a race without my white mid-crew SWIFTWICK socks, and I'm going to give you 2 reasons why. Number 1, my race day fit is not complete without them. I love the look of these socks, and I think if you look good, you feel good, and you race good. Number 2, I trust the performance of these socks. They have compression technology that is going to guarantee my feet are feeling good in my super shoes, and they are also made of moisture wicking fibers that are going to prevent blisters from happening, especially when I'm going the marathon distance. The last thing that you want to be worrying about on race day is a bad blister developing and ruining your race. If you're constantly having race day issues with this, it's not the shoes, it's your socks. Try SWIFTWICK socks today. The link to their website and our discount code is in the show notes.
I saw it at Thanksgiving. That's the only reason I'm saying that. It's like I'm like that. I don't know how that's even like allowed. Like,
Yeah.
Can you expound? Like, what was the best thing you saw? Oh, that's within reason.
honestly, I can't say anything. It's like literally like murder and like crazy things like on Instagram and like just death. I'm like,
That's way worse than I thought you were just gonna be like, it's a bunch of kids just going like 6'7", 6'7".
no. This is like true brain rot. Like I got like upset after like a couple videos. I was like, okay, I cannot watch this any longer.
I hope you had a long, stern conversation with your cousin.
I didn't. It wasn't worth it.
Was this your cousin that wore the Nancy Pelosi shirt to Thanksgiving?
No, that was his brother.
That was brother. Okay.
No, that's a whole different story. Bill, listen to episode 210 for that one.
Yeah. Okay. Noted.
Great story.
So so they took it down because there's an implication that college, I mean, how it started was a college runner reached out to me and was like, can you do a post about this? Like, I know people doing this that were national, like they were on the podium last year at the national stage. And I was like,
what?
Yeah.
That
I was
narrows it down.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, they didn't say like what event, like could have been thrower for all I know. I don't know. But also could have been D2, D3, who knows? But the point is that they were like, I know people doing this and it's a banned substance and it has a very short half-life. So it's 30 minutes, which means that half the concentration is gone in 30 minutes. So if you took this, you could wait like 2 hours in the bathroom, say you have diarrhea, and then if WADA shows up, like half divided by half, half times half times half times half, whatever, like that's how much you have left. in your system. And now they could store that and sample it later, and you can get popped in like 20 years. But like, gold's gold, baby. So I think that's why they took it down, is because I implied that like this is an easy way to dope. But that wasn't my point. It was more like, hey, this could be a problem. This might explain trackflation, um,
Yeah.
which is the rapid drop in times in recent years.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was a bummer. So to the detraining one, to get back on that. So people essentially are like, this is going to breed more toxic running kind of culture, right? Where like over exercising, like not knowing how to take a day off, whatever. And that wasn't the point of the video. It was more like, hey, if you take trained runners who ran at least 30 miles a week for like 10 years or something, like what happens to them? And my old boss was actually on this paper. I think it was published in like the 1980s. And his name's Jim Hagberg. He was in the guy's lab whose name's John Halsey, who's like the godfather of XFiz. And they saw within 7 days, so this is 7 days of detraining, and I think within 3 days, you can actually start to see declines in cardiac enzymes. You will see drops in plasma volume. And so when you lose cardiac enzymes, that means your heart is seemingly not functioning as well. I don't think that's really going to matter that much. But when you start to see drops in plasma volume, that is a problem, right? Because now you have less fluid to like get to places in your body. And so that happens pretty quickly. And I think in 7 days they saw, um, it was like a 15% drop in like oxidative enzymes. So these are the enzymes of your mitochondria that are responsible for like actually driving the consumption of oxygen. Um, Within I think 40 days they saw a 40% drop in those same enzymes. And they saw that the VO2 max dropped as much as 15 to 20%. And so that's a big amount. Like that is
Yeah.
that's a massive drop. It's hard to like comprehend how big of a drop that is, but that is like a very large drop. And that VO2 max had dropped also within 7 days of detraining. Like it's not like in 7 days you're going to become less fit. And so I took 6 days completely off because my legs just like did not feel normal. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but there are some studies that show that your muscle glycogen doesn't come back until like 6 or 7 days post race after a marathon. Like you basically just stay depleted for a long time. Um, and so I just felt like really bad, like almost borderline ill. And then once I hit like 7 days, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and run again. But with the holidays, I just didn't. And then I ran today and felt awful, like terrible. And I was running like normally I run like 7:30 for easy pace, and my heart rate's like 130. Today I was running 8 flat pace, and my heart rate was like 145, 150. So
Hmm.
like that was, and I didn't take completely off. Like I ran 12 miles the week after and 12 miles the next week, right? And I had like an 8 mile run in there or something. So I did take some days off, but I was still active. But it just like you just lose it. Now the good part is that it comes back quick, right? And I think that's something that maybe people didn't take away from the video is, it does come back quickly. Unfortunately, it doesn't come back as quick as you lose it. That's just like the frustrating truth. But it does come back quickly, and there are other ways to maintain that fitness. And we also know that once you hit a certain fitness level, it's easier to get back to that point. Like, you this is the idea of like muscle memory, so to speak. In reality, it's because you develop more machinery that sticks around, like actual structures. For example, your capillaries, which are the tiny tubes that deliver oxygen. Even after 40 days of detraining, that didn't change in the people that in the original study. So sure, while the VO2 is lower, while all these other things were lower, the actual structures were still there, and that's been replicated many, many times. And so yeah, that's what I did, and I don't regret it. Like it's fine. I wanted to shorten my next marathon block anyways, so this just kind of like makes me want to like get back on the horse sooner. Um, but yeah, I feel like hot garbage, like a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think the post marathon blues are a real thing. and it's your energy level, and it probably has some mental effects too that go along with that. I think the week after the marathon is like the worst thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like spinning off that subject of, taking time off and then getting back into the swing of things. You also made a video about the 10% mileage rule where everyone uses this when they're building mileage. You shouldn't go more than 10% jump week to week to avoid injuries. And you said that's not necessarily the case. It's more, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's more if you go like super far, like much farther on one single run than you've been going, then your risk of injury increases, correct?
Yep, 100%. Nailed the head and hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what happens. It's not. Now, I will say that the 10% rule is like it's like one of those like good general rules of thumb, especially for new runners, because like we know that you should slowly increase your volume, but like you don't want to go and run 20 miles, and you can't, right? Because that would break the next rule that I'm going to tell you, which is what the paper actually found, and it's that you cannot increase the longest run of the week by more than 10%. So it's not that your weekly mileage necessarily matters, it's that the longest run that you do cannot be greater than 10% of the longest run that you've done in the past. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember the exact time frame, but essentially, like if you had run 10 miles the week before, then your long run the next week should only be 11 miles. And so why you can't just go from 0 to 50 miles is because you would violate that rule. If you go from 20 to 50 miles, you will inevitably violate that rule. So like there's a relationship there, but it's not like um the other thing I'll mention is or let me finish that thought. There's a relationship there, but it tends to be more about the longest run that you do, not necessarily the cumulative weekly volume. And the other thing I would mention is that when they look at injuries and they model injuries and trying to understand how they occur, they seem to occur like at a single point in time. So it's injuries don't like it's not like a bucket, or rather think about it like good way to think about an injury maybe is like a brick wall or like a concrete wall, and you're just picking at it with a pickaxe, right? And you're picking at it and you're picking at it, and eventually you crack it all the way through and it crumbles. From most of the papers, that's not actually how injuries work. They seem to be more like you hit it in the right place with that pickaxe and you hit it at a weak point and the whole thing shatters. Um, and so it's more like so the only example that comes to mind is like breaking a backboard for a dunk. You don't like breaking a backboard for a dunk is less about how hard you dunk it and more about like hitting it in the right spot. Like you
Or
have
you're
to like
just Shaquille O'Neal and you're like,
you shake that sucker off. Yes, correct.
no.
Do you have
Um,
experience in that arena, breaking a
I
backboard?
I do not, but my brother's athletes have. So I think I told you guys this. He's a professional dunk coach. So I visited him for Thanksgiving, and one of his athletes was there. His name's Donovan, and he was kind of talking about it because they were like, "Have you ever broken a backboard?" And he's like, "No, it doesn't really work like that." Because when you see him dunk, it looks violent. Like you hear the noise, and you're like, "How did you not break your wrist?" Like I don't understand like how you yeah, those dudes are they're a different breed. We actually had a conversation of like who could win in a 200 because he's like he runs a 4.40, but I'm like, no way you're making it 200 meters. Like you're gonna he can barely run 100 because he gets too tired. And so I'm like, I think I could beat you in a 200. So that's what we're gonna do. We might make some. My brother and I might do that. Have us race and see who wins. I think I can get him.
That'd be awesome.
Uh,
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
you had pretty good top end speed too, because you were like a mid D guy. So
Yeah, one of my one of the signs my friends made for the race was at least it's not an 800 during the marathon. And I was like that's so relatable. Like I am so glad this isn't an 800.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You'd rather run 52 of them
Mhm.
than one of them.
50, yeah, yeah. But I mean, have you ever run an 800 hard? It's the worst.
I haven't, but I've heard my wife ran track. She was very good, and I've heard that she's like, I hate 800s because I hated them in high school.
Yeah, no, they're awful.
yeah, yeah. Dude, I've been seeing some crazy signs at races lately, like some ones that like
Pray
spouses
tell,
and
pray tell.
yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. There's
Really?
one. I don't know if I can say it on the pod, or maybe I'll tell you after. But yeah, there's some crazy ones out there, man. Oh yeah.
I had one that said you're unbelievable. I thought that was pretty good. Um, uh, this the 800 one, and then there was one other one, but we had really good support. Like, in fact, the other guys I was running with, they were like, "Do you know people all over Richmond?" And I was like, "Nope, I just have a few crazy friends that mapped out." He literally, he literally, it looks like have you ever seen that Always Sunny thing where he's got like all the things on the board, and he's like
Yeah.
he's like trying to explain it. That's like what this dude's like map of Richmond looked like. He had literal like strings, like string maps like over the place. So he ended up they saw me at like mile 1, mile 8, mile 13, mile 18, and then mile like 22. And I was like, I don't know how you did that. Like I actually do not know how you did that. But they were like leaving cars, picking them up the next day. Like it was a very extravagant procedure.
Did
Yep.
did anyone recognize you walking around like at the race or at the expo or anything? I feel like you got a lot of pretty popular videos on Instagram. So
No, I've been waiting for the day when someone is like, "You're so and so." No, no, that didn't happen. I was kind of hoping, like, pridefully that it would, because I was like, that'd be pretty sweet. I'd go home. My wife couldn't come. My kids were sick, but man, to go home and be like, "Hey, I know it seems like I spent a lot of time on this, but by the way, someone knew who I was." And she would be like, "You're an idiot, and I don't care, and put the dishes away. It'll increase your lifespan by 3%." Like, yes, ma'am.
there's nothing better when someone comes up to us at an expo or something, and one of our spouses are there, and someone asks us for a photo or whatever. Like you just get ultimate
Wait, so this
like
happens to you guys? Like, you guys are
it, more so at like regional races like Indy and stuff, but it did Chicago, Scotty too some, but yeah, Indy and stuff, but not like crazy. We have
I think I need to be a little more absurd. I need to be more of a character to garner more attention. I'm too I think I'm too professional, you know? I gotta be a little bit more.
No, dude, you're just do you. You're one of one. That's your competitive advantage. You can only be you.
You be
I-
you.
I think the reason it happens though is because most of our content is long form, like podcasts, and
Mm,
Chris has a YouTube series that he's been killing it on. And so when you spend so much time with someone, I think you kind of recognize them and they're
yeah.
in your head more, you know?
We're also like marathon specific podcast mostly. So
yeah.
that probably helps some.
Dude,
I
Doctor,
am
you would
on
kill it on a podcast. If you had your own podcast, you would murder. I'm telling you, you would dominate. You should
well,
definitely do it.
I don't wanna step into your turf, boys.
Oh, it's
I
fine.
would
We can
happily
Been stepped in, man, but you do you. We will do us, and you do you.
yeah,
Exactly.
we're soft launching you right now.
This is our soft launch. Alright, I'll think about it.
We will
Uh,
we will gladly support you.
how do you yeah, we'll come back to that at a later date, but it's something I've thought about. I just haven't, like again, I'm so new to this stuff. I haven't really like thought about how to do it and stuff. But I am on. Rumor has it that I'm on 1% of this one podcast. I'm on 1% of their episodes. You may have heard of it. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link after. I'm on 1% of their videos. I might make their top 10 list. We'll see. They told me that recently.
You
So,
might. You're on the right trajectory to make it. So, shoot, this one might do it. I can tell you, when people see round two, when I drop this tomorrow, they're gonna be stoked for sure.
I know. Didn't he have over 1,000 in like a day, or it was like 2 days? It was a lot.
It was fast. Yeah.
There's always a guest like every couple weeks where you
and
know.
it's me. No. What was your other question though? You had like one more, right?
Oh yeah. Well, there's a couple, but we can just hit this last one because we've been talking about races specifically.
Mhm.
Just like drinks the night before a race. I
Mm.
think I've seen Nick Simmons make a video before, and he was like, I don't know, you're familiar with Nick Simmons, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, I'd have a beer or two the night before a race sometimes, like no problem. But you're in your video, I was like, well, it actually could be a problem. So I thought,
I mean, yeah, and Nick Simmons is obviously infinitely more gifted than
It's true. Yeah.
So maybe for him it's fine. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things I always tell people, like, be careful when you're taking advice from like an Olympian or whatever. Like, the rules don't always apply to them.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't or that they're not credible, because they are. But I think it's just like, be careful, because sure, maybe Peter Snell went out and did 60 by 400 at 65 seconds with a minute rest. Like, maybe he did that. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But guess what? I'm sure as heck not prescribing any of my athletes that, because they're gonna break.
No.
So to that point, right? Like, alcohol's a depressant. I don't know if that, and that doesn't mean that it will like always make you depressed. That just means that it will slow your nervous system down, right? And so the paper was interesting because in sprinters, this is if they had there's actually two papers. In one paper, they had three standard drinks and then they raced. So they were basically like going into the race a little bit buzzed. And the 100-meter runners actually showed like no difference. I mean, very minimal differences, like borderline, they were fine. Which really surprised me, because that's such an intense event. Like, I can imagine just like bebopping around, like sprinting down. I don't know, but it's so short, right? Whereas in the distance events like the 1500, I think it increased the time by like 40 or 50 seconds or something, like some laughable amount where it was like, yeah, you're not even competitive anymore. Um, but then I followed that up with like the night before, because like, who's really gonna drink the day of a race?
Yeah.
I mean, like, maybe some people, but like, I certainly was not gonna like drink a beer like on the line. That might be the next thing though. Jalapenos at mile 20, a Bud Light on the line.
Oh, these
Bud
guys.
Light, interesting choice. We can talk about that in round 3.
I
Wow.
want to be clear. I don't drink Bud Light. Okay. All right. All right. I want to be very clear. No, no, but that's funny. No, I'm more of a, if I'm gonna have a light beer, I'm gonna go with a Stella.
Oh, 100% agree. Love
I think that's a great light beer.
It's a good
light
beer.
beer.
Are you a
It's a
Miller?
beer.
Are you a Miller guy?
I all of us don't. Well, we don't really drink beer that much, but if I'm gonna drink light beer, probably Michelob Ultra.
Oh, ugh.
My
Love a good
my
Modelo.
preferred beer is Modelo.
Oh,
dude,
Modelo.
Modelo's. Oh, brother.
Has to be in
This
this glass.
podcast brought to you by Modelo.
Oh, I would.
Dude, I would let that happen. I'd push for that.
Yeah,
I was absolutely crushing some NA Blue Moons over Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So
Blue
good.
Moons are also good, man.
Try the non-alcoholic ones. Super good.
I actually had my first non-alcoholic beer last week, and I was like, this isn't bad. Like, I could do this.
They've gotten better.
Yeah.
Athletic Brewing is great.
Yeah.
Let's
I think a good thing to wrap this puppy with is, you said it earlier, you were like, just because they're an Olympian doesn't mean you have to take advice from. I think that's a full circle. Just because 3 dudes bought $35 mics on Amazon doesn't mean you take advice. It can be like good guide rails for like advice, but don't take your advice from anyone and everyone. It can be like food for thought, and then do your own research. But I think that's probably a good rule of thumb.
yeah. Yeah, that's probably fair. And I did have one point about that paper to wrap up, just to like really put a bow on it, is that like, if you're drinking 3 standard drinks the night before your marathon, like, I think there are probably better alternatives, is what I would say, than that. And yeah, there's probably other ways to enjoy yourself. I think it's fine if you want to drink like 2-3 nights before and just like whatever. I wouldn't be getting hammered, but yeah, and I think a beer, whatever, like a beer the night before is not gonna have any bearing on your performance. If you had 3 standard drinks in an hour, which is what they did in the paper, that might raise your BAC enough to like have an effect, especially if you're an older runner who's not drinking regularly. Like, probably wouldn't do that. So all that to be said, what do I know? I didn't do the study, so.
Bill, you changed my mind from last podcast. I'm doing all my workouts in super shoes now. So There we go.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot actually too since you said that, and I've been using my old Alpha Plus more.
Do you have any?
Says the
running
dude who
routines?
literally did 3x4 in Nimbus.
Yeah, that's because I forgot them.
True. You did forget him. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Dude, that's like
Good
running in
savage.
bricks.
Yeah, and he did his last 4 where it was at 525, and he zoomed past me in Nimbus. I was like, is he wearing Nimbus and doing that?
Well, I saw his 8-mile tempo the other week, and he cut down to like 5:15, and I was like, goodness, dude.
Wait, are you on
Casual.
Strava, Bill?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
instant follow.
dude,
yeah.
instant.
But-
I'm in there.
Since I've been making more content on Instagram, my Strava titles haven't been as like creative and crafty. I had a lot of like tongue-in-cheek funny ones, but now that I know I have some big dogs following me, maybe I'll
Strava handle.
I think it's just Bill Evans, isn't it?
Bill Evans.
What do you mean handle?
I'm sorry, bad habit.
At the real Bill Evans, Dr. Evans, PhD runner guy.
Is it North Carolina, Elon, North Carolina?
Heck
His hair
yeah.
looks great.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
I'm
We need
working
to
on
get
it.
that Strava graph back up, bro.
I'm leaning into it, guys. I'll tell you what, today I felt like dog water. I felt like complete hot garbage. So expect more of that. I like to complain on Strava. I like to be like felt bad always. I don't leave many runs thinking like that was a good one.
Scotty's the
Yeah.
most positive person, for better or for worse, on Strava. So it's gonna be a battle of Bill and Scotty.
Is
Scotty's got to
Scotty
lift
like
them up in the comments.
like make it a great day? You know?
Yes.
Make it a great day. Change the
Dude,
world.
Monday's the best day of the freaking week, baby. Bill, get ready.
Get ready. Hurricane positivity is coming your way.
Yeah. Well,
All right. Episode 211, boys. What a great one. Dr. E. This is not. We're gonna have you on 1,000 more times. Don't you worry.
Dude, I'm always down as long
We'll-
as
We'll
as long
give
as
you a
get
longer
my
break
way.
this time, bro.
as Rhonda, whatever her name is for Joe Rogan, is our Bill Evans for Life in Stride.
Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm on 2% of Life in Stride episodes, and I'd like that number to go up. So
Let's go.
True. He is.
Dude,
Not a lie.
Brady Homer works for Rhonda Patrick. Fun fact.
Yeah.
We've had him on 4 or 5 times, maybe.
Yeah, you should
Did
check his stuff out. He's got a good newsletter. Also,
I
board.
just after your guys' episode, I took a look. So he's a much better runner than me, which hurt me a little bit. I was a little insecure for a moment, and then I said, you know what? It's okay. I do different things.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, great follow, very smart.
Steve Magnus type.
Yeah.
But,
Cool.
all right. Episode 211, boys. Dr. E, you're the man. We'll catch you on 212.
See you in 6 weeks.
Thanks for having me, guys.